Hello and welcome to our coverage of the 2017 JLT One Day Cup, brought to you by Viper Cricket and our live studio audience. That's not true. That was just a sound effect. But this is our massive preview show for what I feel is going to be a bumper tournament this year. The JLT Cup, the one-day cricket, 50 overs, Australian domestic tournament. Always a highlight, I think, on the Australian cricket calendar. I'm your host, James, and today we're going to be discussing all things JLT Cup. We've got all the teams, all the players, all the talking points. We're going to be discussing all of them today for you over the next less than 15 minutes. So, without further ado, we're going to get stuck into the teams. I'm going to go through them in alphabetical order. So we start with New South Wales. The lineup for New South Wales this year, I don't want to bore you too much with the team lineups because they are going to be long, and I'm going to read all of them out. So I'm going to get through that as quick as possible. So the squad this year for New South Wales consists of Sean Abbott, Doug Bollinger, Conway, Cowan, Edwards, Gibson, Hughes, Lenton, Lyon, Madison, Nair, Neville, Patterson, and Sandhu. And that's going to be the team for New South Wales, and I think that is looking as strong as ever. The New South Wales lineup always is strong. Big talking points, of course, for the New South Wales squad. Obviously, in the JLT Cup, this one-day tournament, obviously each team has a certain number of international players, but all the international players always seem to be on international duty, playing for Australia right at the time when the tournament comes. And usually that's a big hit for New South Wales, because usually they're missing a lot of players. And that squad I just read out to you does not include Moises Henriques, usually captain for New South Wales. It does not include Henriques, although it is expected that he will play the first game of this tournament before he goes off to India to play in the T20 squad. How much of an impact is that going to have on the New South Wales squad? Well, Henriques often is a massive run scorer for New South Wales. And I think that without Moises Henriques in the team, the batting lineup is much thinner than usual. It does look a bit thin. They do have Nick Manson and Ed Cowan. Obviously can make a lot of runs by themselves, and Daniel Hughes. He was very strong for the Sydney Sixers in the last tournament, but the batting lineup is stretched a bit thin. However, check out that bowling lineup. You've got Nathan Lyon, Gurinder Sandhu, Doug Bollinger, Sean Abbott, as well as Mickey Edwards, who's a fast bowler. We all remember when he was a substitute fieldsman for Australia against Pakistan in the Test series. Had those long, flowing, golden locks. But he is a fast bowler. He is, I believe, if he does get a run, obviously they have Sandhu, Bollinger, Abbott. If he does get a run, I think he's going to be a big impact player for New South Wales. And he's going to have to be. The bowling lineup for New South Wales is going to have to be on fire, because I believe that batting lineup isn't as strong as usual. And the bowling lineup can only be improved because it's also expected that Mitchell Starc will get a run at some point for New South Wales. Obviously, back in 2015 in this exact competition, he took 26 wickets at an average of 8.1. So Mitchell Starc is going to be huge. If he gets a game, I believe that New South Wales will be unstoppable. And in fact, New South Wales is my pick to win the tournament this year. I think they can go all the way, and I think they will win again for the third season in a row. But we will look at the other teams, because these are the teams that stand in their way. So next off we have Queensland. Queensland's side consists of Khawaja, Burns, Cutting, Doggett, Flores, Gannon, Hazlitt, Labuschagne, Neza, Pearson, Renshaw, Stanlake, Swepson, and Wildermuth. And the Queensland side looks pretty good. The Queensland side is usually pretty good, it's just that none of their players seem to ever fire right around this time. And Queensland generally, I feel, has a reputation for being very slow early on in the competition, and then they lose the first couple of games, but then they start winning toward the end, and sometimes they just have a bad habit of leaving that way too late. They didn't make the final last year, of course, but they were beaten by a much stronger New South Wales side. Big talking points up in Queensland are the new coach. Phil Jakes suddenly had to leave the Bulls. He had to leave his coaching position at the Bulls for family reasons. He had to return to New South Wales. So former wicketkeeper Wade Secom was taken over. All seems to be going well at the moment for Queensland. They had a training camp over at Moreton Island, so hopefully they can bond a bit more. That seems to be a problem with Queensland at the moment, is that the players all seem to be not quite gelling and not quite bonding, so hopefully a bit of bonding time has worked. They're in a bit of a transition phase at the moment, Queensland. They've got a bit of youth and a bit of experience, because that lineup, I think probably at least 70 to 80% of that lineup are all players under 25. Sam Haslett, Marnus Labuschagne, Jimmy Pearson, Matthew Renshaw, Billy Stanlake, Mitchell Swepson, and Jack Wildermuth are all under 25. So it's going to be a huge ask for the Queensland team, but they do have Khawaja, Burns, Cutting, and Neza. So it's going to be interesting to see if Queensland can pull off another good season. I believe they do have the capability to do so. Most of that team, it looks pretty similar to the Brisbane Heat squad, and of course they lost in the semi-finals of the Big Bash, so I think they definitely have a strong side. And I'm definitely going to be interested to see how Matt Renshaw goes in the limited overs format. We've seen him play Test cricket for Australia, but I'm keen to see what he can do in 50-over cricket. And so we move on to South Australia. The lineup for them: Ferguson, Andrews, Carey, Cooper, Cormack, Lehman, Menny, Ross, Sayers, Kelvin Smith, Cameron Vellante, Weatherald, Winter, and Daniel Worrell. And we were discussing earlier about teams always missing international players. South Australia are missing 3 key players in Travis Head, Adam Zampa, and Kane Richardson. They are all going to be key for South Australia, and I think that without them, South Australia, I think, are going to struggle a bit. They're going to have to look to a bit of an inexperienced lineup, I think, especially in the bowling stakes. They are going to look to Chad Sayers, but he is recovering from a bit of a finger injury that he picked up in the Redbacks League not too long ago, so they're still waiting on Sayers' availability for this game. But they do have Cameron Vellante. He enjoyed a bit of a breakout season last year in the Matador Cup. He took 15 wickets at 16.7. Is equal leading wicket taker, I think, as well, with those 15 wickets. And let's not forget, he did make 100 against Victoria as well. Victoria. He made 100 against the Bushrangers during that tournament as well. So he's no mug with the bat, and he's probably going to be very key to their bowling lineup as well, Cameron Vellante. So watch for that. Tasmania. What can we say about Tasmania? Well, we'll start with the squad. George Bailey, Jackson Bird, Cameron Boyce, Alex Doolan, Jake Duran, Ben Dunk, Andrew Feckerty, Ben McDermott, Riley Meredith, Simon Malenko, Sam Rainbird, Tom Rogers, Silk and Wakim. Of course, big news for Tasmania at the moment is really that Hobart is going to actually be hosting the one-day final this year, which I think is great. They're going to be playing in Brisbane, Sydney, Perth, and Tasmania this year, and I think that's a great move from Cricket Australia to play in more venues. Recently, of course, they have only played in New South Wales in the One Day Cup. But I think it's great that they're expanding and they're going back out to other places in Australia, because I want them to play all around Australia. This is supposed to be the future of Australian cricket here in the state games. I mean, we're seeing all these young players coming through, but they need to experience playing on the big grounds. They need to gain experience from playing on the big grounds. Tasmania is looking pretty strong. Tasmania usually looks pretty strong, but they're usually under fire. They do have George Bailey, Jackson Bird, Alex Doolan, Cameron Boyce and Ben Dunk, all played for Australia. All very good players, all going to be key for Tasmania this season. Let's not forget Jordan Silk, wonderful batsman, great fielder. Saves about 10 runs in the field, let alone with his batting. And Ben McDermott, who made that ridiculous 100 in the Big Bash last year, and helped Hobart across the line in that game that they really shouldn't have won. If you take Ben McDermott out of the equation, in all manner of speaking, Hobart should have lost. But look for Ben McDermott. He is going to be key. He's going to be a big run scorer, I feel. And in a lineup that looks like that has Bailey, that has Alex Dillon, that has Ben Dunk, he's going to have to score a lot of runs. As well as Jake Duran. Future of Australian cricket right there. We move on to Victoria. Squad for them: Cameron White, Wes Agar, Boland, Dean, Gotch, Harper, Marcus Harris, John Hastings, John Holland, Pukovsky, Matt Short, Pete Siddle, Thompson and Tremaine. Again, they're going to be missing some key internationals. They've got Hanscom, Finch, Dan Christian and Glenn Maxwell all overseas in India at the moment, playing limited overs cricket there. And those are big shoes to fill. They do have Seb Gotch, Sam Harper. They're going to have to look to these young guys. Probably going to have to be thrown in the game straight away because these guys are missing. Let's not forget that they're also missing Matthew Wade, who has moved to Tasmania, and Marcus Stoinis, who's moved to WA. So those are key hits right there. Wade and Stoinis, they're going to be big losses for Victoria, which means that Cameron White needs support at the top of the batting order. And who's he going to get it from? They'll probably look to Marcus Harris for that. Marcus Harris will have to score a lot of runs, but they probably will also need to look to their young batting lineup. We move on to Western Australia. The lineup for them reads Mitchell Marsh, Ashton Turner, Cameron Bancroft, Will Basisto, Josh Inglis, Kelly Klinger, Mackin, Sean Marsh, Moody, Jai Richardson, Darcy Short, Andrew Tye, and Jono Wells. They're missing a whole host of internationals again. Ashton Agar, Jason Berendorf, Hilton Cartwright, Nathan Coulter-Nile, and Marcus Stoinis, who we just mentioned before. Big losses right there. Ashton Agar is a star with ball and bat. Jason Berendorf, I reckon that's going to be a massive, massive hit to the team. But they do have, and Coulter-Nile as well in the bowling stakes, but they do have Andrew Tye, Jai Richardson and Simon Mackin, who are going to have to step up massively for Western Australia. Mitchell Marsh will be captain of Western Australia, and they're going to have to look towards their experience of Michael Klinger, Cameron Bancroft, Ashton Turner and Jai Richardson. Not really Turner and Jai Richardson, but they are going to be key players. They experienced breakout seasons last season, so they are going to be key players in the Western Australian lineup. Also, Michael Klinger, as always, as we mentioned, and Cameron Bancroft. Let's not forget Cameron. So those are all the teams, except for the Cricket Australia 11. We're going to have to do a separate video for the Cricket Australia 11, separate podcast. Thank you for listening, if you've listened for this long. And we'll see you in our next piece when we look at the Cricket Australia 11.